Washington said, quote, "There is not a man living who wishes more sincerely than I do to see a plan adopted for the abolition of slavery." So Washington often preached against slavery. But now I know somebody said, well, then why didn't he free his slaves? Washington did want to abolish slavery, and he made several attempts. In fact, his friend Thomas Jefferson, both of them tried to get the state of Virginia to abolish it when Jefferson was governor, to abolish it, the institution of slavery. So they were actually working in that direction. They did not pursue it as hard as perhaps some would say they could have, because Washington believed there was a higher good that was operating here that had to be pursued first. And that is the establishment and the preservation of the Union. We're talking here about a trade-off. Washington began to realize very quickly, and of course he was heading the Constitutional Convention. He was there as the chairman. He began to realize very quickly, both in the Declaration years and after the war and at the Constitutional Convention, you could either have a union of 13 states, and in doing so you could have a lot of liberty. You could establish a republic. You could bring these 13 colonies together into a union. Or you could fight against slavery, in which case at least half of the union would not be part of the union. And those states, those southern states, would go their own way. And I want to add something here. It isn't just that we now have two pieces. We would likely have more. The European model and the African model that we've seen in the 20th century, more likely, in other words, that you would have a fragmentation and you might have 13 countries. Because after all, North Carolina doesn't like South Carolina. And South Carolina looks down upon North Carolina, especially in the 1770s and 80s. You have states like Connecticut and Massachusetts that had rivalries, and with Rhode Island. Those rivalries likely would have led to the formation of 13 different states, all of whom they're passing tariffs on one another. They have their own currency. And also we have a debt. Britain already in the 1790s was impressing our sailors, we're taking sailors off our ships. The French were taking our ships. During the 1790s under Washington and then under Adams, we had hundreds of ships that were just taken by the French. Now, if we have 13 different states trying to deal with this, it's an impossibility. It was hard enough as a union trying to deal with it. Washington's point is, if we fragment into 4, 5, 6, 13 countries, we will not survive. We will be attacked. We will probably squabble and fight with each other more than we will fight with the British and the French. It will be a failed experiment.